I mean, there's no point in the restaurant table. Anne Buckley is a person that's, who that describe, she is outstanding in everything she does.
Yeah, we're just talking to Jerry, yeah. You're doing well, Jerry, don't you? And you go out as well.
He's basically open up. Jimmy, leaving twice, he can come back to me and do it again.
Mr. Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, just for the benefit of those of you who haven't been here with us in previous years, this is the 10th annual Limerick Sports Service Awards ceremony, and what we do is we will have a number of brief speeches, and I stress they will be brief, and then we will call each of the recipients up here to the podium, and the citations, there will be a citation for each award recipient. When all the awards have been given out, the musicians from the School of Music will play for us, and hopefully will play for a few hours, and I look forward to meeting more of you, and hopefully you will enjoy yourself throughout the evening. This is the formal part of it. There is plenty of music and hopefully plenty of crack and chorus, as they say, so once again you're all welcome. Before we continue, there is one thing I would like to say, that the Limerick City Sports Advisory Body is involved in a number of activities. This is one of them, and this is, as I said, our annual banquet. Another one is the Custard City 10, and we have here from, we run the City 10 and have been for a number of years, and the proceeds which we get from the City 10 are donated to Milford Hospice. Through an oversight, or maybe through good fortune, we don't know, during the year, we had one prize, and the prize is a year's membership in the Leisure and Fitness Club in the Green Hills. And what we propose doing later on, it's worth £335, and it's for the year 1993. And what we will do is something we haven't done for ever at this function, but later on, we will be giving out tickets, 2 for £1. It's in aid of Milford Hospice. Feel free to give anything you like. Sister Norpet is here with us tonight, and I'm sure she'll be delighted to take whatever you're willing to contribute home with her. So we look forward to your generosity in that respect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call in his worship the Mayor, Councillor John Quinn. Councillor Quinn.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minister, Chairman of CUS Board, Chairman of the City of Limerick VEC Sports Advisory Body, CEO, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen. May I first of all thank your Chairman and your committee for your very kind invitation to Kathleen and I to join with you here this evening. As one who has been involved in sport over the years, it has always been a tremendous pleasure to come here to this event, which I've attended for a number of years in the past, and to see people honoured who have served Limerick well in sport, be it in administration or otherwise, and what I would call the unsung heroes. And I would like to thank your committee for the initiative you had 10 years ago to think up the idea of giving these awards. It's tremendous, and I congratulate you on that. I would like to congratulate tonight's recipients as they come up here to receive their awards. Well done. And I would like to congratulate all the sporting bodies in our city and throughout the Midwest region for the tremendous job of work you are doing in sport for both the adults and the children. You know, Limerick is the name of being the capital of sport, and I've said this someplace else, and some people present didn't like it, but I still stick to it. And I say we are the capital of sport, and long may that continue. I am presently as chairman of the Limerick Corporation Sports Council, considering a number of other matters involving sport in our city that I think will have a tremendous effect. And one of those is we are presently working on the idea of having a municipal golf course. And it's actually gone a long way down the road, and I sincerely hope it comes off. We are also considering having a 25-metre pool on the north side of the city. We are urging for this, and I think it can be got. The open pool on the Ennis Road is no longer serviceable, and I think it has to be replaced. So we're looking for that, and I sincerely hope it will be out in my list. As well as that, I want, as Mayor of the City tonight, to join in the appeal that Limerick gets the 50-metre pool, the Olympic-style pool, and that it should come, I hope, to the university. I think we need it. If we want to train, and if we want to get our athletes of all sorts to get into the Olympics or to get anywhere in sport, you must have the facilities. And tonight I want to add that appeal to everything else. Chairman, I won't delay the programme. I congratulate all the recipients and thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mention of 25-metre pools and 50-metre pools reminds me of the fact that in our presence tonight is a former award recipient, Mr. Michael Mulcair, who has just been appointed National President of the Irish Swimming Association, and we extend to him our sincere congratulations. Now, I would like to call on Mr. Willie O'Dea, TD, Minister of State of the Department of Justice, to address you. Mr. O'Dea.
Mr. Chairman, Chairman of Cosbor, Mr. Mayor, Chairman of the BEC. First of all, I want to sincerely thank your organisation for your kind invitation here tonight. It's a great pleasure to attend, particularly here in Limerick. I want to congratulate the Limerick City BEC and the Sports Advisory Body for their initiative in inaugurating these prestigious awards, which are now in their 10th year. Their unstinting hard work in this area is greatly appreciated by all of us. For all the recipients, these awards are a recognition of their dedication to the cause of sport. They help to compensate somewhat for the many hours spent organising clubs and individuals from week to week, and indeed from year to year. You have all been involved in this very demanding work, and indeed at great personal inconvenience and at no small cost to yourselves, but I want to salute your contribution in that regard. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the outstanding voluntary work undertaken, not alone this year, but every year by people who work tirelessly in an unpaid capacity. With regard to voluntary work in the area of sport, if I can just mention one point as I go along, I'm delighted that my colleague, Mr. Liam Aylward, TD, Minister for Sport, took a lot of this local work into account when he recently appointed Mary Costello, Secretary of the Limerick Sports Advisory Body, as a member of Cosbor. All of tonight's recipients provide an invaluable service to our community and to our country, and we are all the richer for it. We are all concerned with the social problems which are thrown up by unemployment. There's no need for me to dwell on them at length. Suffice it to say this: sport is an ideal and healthy release from the pressures which modern society brings to bear on the population, both young and old, while at the same time it instills in young people in particular such positive qualities as self-reliance, discipline and comradeship, qualities which will serve throughout life as guiding principles for responsible citizenship. The work you are doing and the work we recognise here tonight represents to me real practical patriotism. We have a lot of verbal patriotism in this country. I am interested in practical patriotism, and the work you are doing is the best example that I know of that sort of patriotism. The importance of sport in our lives is a phenomenon which the government has recognised. The Department of Justice wrote a script for me here tonight, and they've given me a whole lot of statistics on the funding which you have already got from the National Lottery through the Department of the Environment and indeed through the Department of Education. I am sure that, while we're all interested in history, you're more interested in the future and what we can do for you in the future. And I repeat tonight what I said recently in another context. In relation to funding for sport, for the future, you can rest assured that I will see to it that Limerick and this region will get its fair share. Now, it only remains for me, the chairman told me to confine myself to 3 minutes, and I have no intention of breaching that guideline. It only remains for me to say well done to the award winners, and I mean that sincerely. These prestigious awards are a fitting tribute to the efforts of the recipients, and I congratulate each and every one of them, and I congratulate and salute you for the tremendous work you are all doing in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Now, it is my pleasure to call on Mr. Raymond, Chairman of the National Sports Council, COSPOR. Raymond, please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, Chairman of the Vocational Education Committee, Chairman of the Sports Advisory Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be here once again with the people of Limerick at this wonderful banquet this evening to celebrate and commemorate the people who have worked so hard in promoting sport and the interests of sport generally in the Limerick region over the past year. I've been coming here for a long time, and it never ceased to amaze me how much voluntary input exists within this region in relation to the care and welfare of young people and in the promotion of sport. We in the Sports Council depend a great deal on the sports advisory committees to do the work out in the field, to promote the general concept of sport for all. And nowhere is that more positively and more progressively pursued than it is here in Limerick by the Sports Advisory Committee, and in particular by Jerry Burke and by Mary Costello. And as the Minister has said, I was particularly glad too to see that the contribution being made by the Limerick Sports Advisory Committee was honoured by the appointment of one of their members to the new Sports Council. And I join with the Minister in congratulating Mary Costello on that appointment. I know well from what I have seen her do here over the years that she's going to be a tremendous asset to the new National Sports Council. And indeed, I expect much from her, and I'm sure she'll be bringing a lot of the Limerick ideas to Dublin, and hopefully they will be bearing fruit. And hopefully as well, we will all be relying on the Minister, as he has said, to get funds for Limerick, and I hope in getting funds for Limerick, he'll be getting funds for other areas elsewhere, because sport does need, apart from the voluntary input, it does need a little money. And the voluntary input will go so far, but we do need a little resource, and hopefully we will get that. I wouldn't like to leave this platform tonight without certainly thanking all of you in Limerick who have been involved in the sport area, and particularly those people who have been involved in the voluntary area. I was in the boxing stadium on Friday night at the national finals, and I saw one of your recipients here tonight very active at the ringside. I was at the AGM of the Community Games on Saturday, and I saw many of the people I see here tonight very active also in that particular capacity. Clear indication of indications necessary of what Limerick people generally are doing and the amount of their own time they're giving in pursuit of the welfare of the younger generation. I would like to acknowledge that as Chairman of COSPOR and to say that it is appreciated. We are very thankful to you for it. I'd like also, while I'm at the platform, to pay tribute to Jerry, not alone for what he's doing for sport generally, but for the way he's trained that son of his to achieve such wonderful achievements. And we know, and indeed we all expect he's going to go on to better things. And the next Olympics, I'm quite sure that we'll be hearing the name of Burke very, very, very prominent in the high jump arena. But again, Jerry, to you and to everyone associated with this event, my sincere thanks, and to all the recipients, my heartiest congratulations. And please continue to do the great work you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Eamon. Eamon I don't think he has missed a banquet that we have had here down through the years. He has been a tremendous supporter, as indeed have the Gardaí in general. And you know, I must, in running the Cossport 10 every year, we have to go to the Gardaí, and we always seem to go to Superintendent Higgins here, who has always met us with the greatest courtesy and kindness, and I would like to take this opportunity of thanking him personally for all the courtesies and kindness he has extended to us over the years. Thank you very much indeed, Superintendent. We're moving along nicely and on schedule, I hope. And I would now like to call on Mr. Frank Prendergast, Chairman of the Youth and Sport Committee of Limerick City VEC. Mr. Frank Prendergast, please.
Cahill úsum bhuiir ar a stáit agus a cháirde ile ó chéan so chongur. I just want to say how much I agree and support our gratitude and congratulations to all of you who are here at this wonderful event this evening. We in the VEC are very proud of what we try to do for sport, and we're particularly delighted that that was recognised through the elevation of Mary Costello, and to thank our chairman here this evening, Jerry Burke, for the great commitment that they have given to sport. I think there are very few things in life so rewarding as to see virtue rewarded. And it is a matter of extreme personal delight for me to see so many friends here who have been selected as tonight's nominees. I know from my own youth that I was involved extensively, you wouldn't think it looking at me now, but in most of the sports in the city. And I'm particularly delighted to see some of the older people. Jack Sheehan, if I may be invidious and select one, for as long as I can remember, I saw him identified. It gives me particular pleasure. I want to thank the ACC Bank, the Savings Bank, for their generous sponsorship. Napoleon said there was only 3 things necessary to win a war: finance, finance and finance. And it is the same with sport and corporations and VECs. Could I just say and remind the Minister, and I'll finish on this note, Julius Caesar was advised in his time by one of the great Roman poets, Lucian, that all a ruler has to do, and indeed it is true of all political governments of all time, all a ruler has to do is to give his people bread and circuses. Ancient Rome, the circus, the arena. That's true. It's true of any government, and I would suggest, Minister, and those of your colleagues who are influential in making money available to us, that it isn't a luxury anymore, it's an absolute necessity. It's a necessity, and a prime necessity. In this country today, youth and sport are synonymous. And I know it myself, as somebody who had to wait until he was about 15 before you got a pair of football boots, that if you get young people hung up on sport, they won't get hung up on anything else, only sport. It's the best dividend that we can invest in. And I would suggest to you, Minister, and you're doing a great job for our city, you have wider national responsibilities. I hope, in re-echoing the sentiments of the Mayor, somebody who is very much involved in swimming amongst other sports myself, that something will be done by greater use of the National Lottery to give that money where it can give a best dividend of all the money spent, especially in the times and the climate we wish that we're in. Again, I just want to thank everybody involved and to congratulate you all on behalf of my own Committee for Youth and Sport of the VEC. Go to Margaret.
Frank Tedden, as Chairman of the Youth and Sport Committee, and indeed Eamon Doherty as Chairman of the National Sporting Body, COSPOR has referred to the need for finance. And we certainly, in the Limerick Sport Advisory Body, were extremely fortunate in meeting up with the ACC, who very generously have sponsored this, the 10th annual COSPOR Sports Service Awards tonight. We're extremely indebted to them, most of you out there, and all of you out there, I hope that this doesn't mean now that you all go onto the ACC looking for more money now that we've got some from them, but it would be remiss of me were I not to record our sincere thanks to Donald Fitzgibbon and to the Ali Fitzgerald and the executive of the ACC Bank here on this occasion. And I would now like to call on Donald Fitzgibbon, local manager, to say a few words to you. Donald Fitzgibbon.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, respective chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee I don't normally speak like this. It is the result of some bad beer I got into it last Saturday evening. On behalf of ACC Bank, it gives me great pleasure to be associated with the sponsorship of trophies to people who work behind the scenes in the promotion of sport in our city. I think it's fair to say, and has already been said here tonight, that the work that has been done by these people helps in no small way to reduce the amount of crime that one has in our society. Because one thing that can be said about sportsmen in all codes is that they generally get rid of their aggression on the field. And one of the nice things to see is that when the game is over, and they can socialise and mix together once that is done. It is no secret that the announcement of the actual awards is kept by Jerry Burke as a great secret. As you're aware, we are sponsors of this particular event this year, and we thank Jerry for the invitation. And if any of you are ever looking for money for ACC, or from ACC, send Jerry along to ask. He's a very hard man to say no to. But Jerry kept it as such a great secret that I didn't find out who the respective winners were until about Friday. And being a good Kerryman Jerry is, I decided not to ask him because I didn't get a straight answer to the question. However, when I look down at the list of winners, it has been my pleasure, being involved in sport in the city, to have been involved with a number of people in various capacities in promoting sport. And the man has been mentioned already, but I would like to pay a special tribute to one man. Back in the early 60s, growing up in Limerick, when I decided I'd have a go at hurling and football, I first came in contact with Jack Sheehan. And he was the man probably who had the greatest influence on me in my future involvement in sport. Unfortunately, that team of the early 60s produced no Limerick hurler or footballer. But credit to Jack, he produced a rugby international in the person of Jerry McLaughlin. Jerry is the man who took 3 English forwards over the line with him. And as the years go by, that has gone from 3 to 8. I hope that no one is illiterate enough about sport in this city to say that he took 9 or 10 forwards over the line with him. But I would like to pay a special tribute to Jack for his role, and also to Paddy who's with him tonight. I'd also like to pay a special tribute to Paul O'Connor, because Paul got involved in something that has become popular over the last number of years, which is walking. And with respect, a lot of the people who have become involved with Paul in walking were themselves not particularly active or prominent in sport in their younger days, but realised the advantages of it. Second last thing I would like to say is that I think that a special tribute has to be paid here tonight to the respective partners of the 11 recipients, and to the many other people who have been recipients before and who will be recipients in the future. Because the time that we spend out with young people in promoting our respective games, we're obviously leaving the family home, which is very well looked after in most respects by our wives. And I think we often forget the contribution they make to us being out, and I think that shouldn't be forgotten. I'd like to say that wasn't scripted by my wife, Anne. I scripted that myself. In conclusion, I'd just like to tell a light story. I don't know whether it relates to any person that's here tonight, but a story I heard some years ago about a man's enthusiasm for sport. On a night or an evening that his wife was expecting a baby, he arrived home, but unfortunately there was a match which clashed with the famous event. So he took off to the match, came back hurriedly. He put his wife into the car and took off to the nursing home. And when she opened the bag in the nursing home, it was 20 jerseys of the local club that fell out instead of the other gear. So in conclusion, on behalf of ACC Bank, I'm very pleased to be associated with these presentations. I'd like to congratulate the winners, their wives or their partners as the case may be. And we look forward this time next year to another 11 recipients for the same award. Thank you very much.
Thank proceed with the awards, and I'd like to call on Alan Shaw forward to read the first citation for Michael Cahill. So we'll take them as they are there on your programs. Alan Shaw for Michael Cahill.
Mr. Mayor, Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I was delighted to hear the manager of the ACC Bank there paying a tribute to the wives of the recipients, because it's often struck me throughout the years that the more worthy the winners are of getting their awards, the less they probably see of their wives and families. And I think thanks, as Michael will not get the chance to say a few words on his behalf, I would like to thank his wife Lillian for her support behind the scenes, and indeed for all the spouses of the recipients tonight and through the years. Michael himself has been involved with Bruff Rugby Club for 18 years, and in the past 4 years has been involved with underage rugby. He's coached the Bruff Community Games team to Mosney in the past 2 years, and as anybody who has been involved in junior sport and underage sport realises, that is a very long and very deep commitment spread over most of the year and involves much more than the actual coaching of the team. But it includes all the arrangements for matches, in transport, in fundraising, looking after kit, meals and accommodation where necessary. He's been the team manager and coach for Bruff under-13 team, and coaches also the under-12 team. And he also assists, I note, in coaching the local school. He's already got one perk of the job, one award. He was allowed coach the Bruff ladies rugby team for 2 seasons, and I gather his wife had also played for that team. I was told when I asked for a little bit more information about him that there is one problem with Michael. He's such a pleasant bloke that he doesn't like taking money from people, and that's a rather awkward problem when he's running the bar at the club. For all his work, for juniors, for the club, for the bar, for the general fundraising and everything else, Michael is a very worthy recipient of the Services to Sport Award. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Michael. Now, the next award is for basketball. The recipient is Michael Fahy, and the reader is Michael Manna.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, ladies and gentlemen. To read a citation for Michael Fahy gives me great pleasure. Unlike the previous recipient, Michael's wife doesn't have major problems. She doesn't have such a thing. Basketball is his wife. Michael started his active life in basketball in community games, like so many other recipients here tonight. And what a success he has made of it. He started in 1987 with under 13 and under 16 boys and girls basketball. In his first year, he managed to made great strides, particularly with the under-13 team, and went on to the county finals in the first year. Since 1987, Broadford has put out some very strong underage teams. I think it was about 1988 or 89 he actually formed a club and entered underage teams in Limerick League, and has gone on from there to great strides. members that he had came up through the underage teams. And again, credit to Michael for his ability in keeping that interest alive when there was not actually a club in existence. 1991, he started with the senior teams in 1991. 1992, he has at the present time managed to win most of his games in the men's section, and the women's team are doing quite well, thanks principally to Michael and his coaching. He learned his basketball, of course, not in Limerick. He learned it down in Cork. He started off in Ballyvorney, Colashte Iscon in Ballyvorney, and mind you, they did a good job in preparing him for his education of the game in Limerick. He continues to coach teams of all ages, senior and underage. And last Sunday in fact, yesterday, he started something new in basketball. He organised a basketball tournament, mixed tournament, 2 men and 2 women on the team. Something very novel to the game, but something that proved most enjoyable, and I can see it taking off in a big way in basketball nationally, never mind in Limerick. Well done, Mike, in that respect. Since Michael started the club in 1987, the people of Broadford, and indeed West Limerick generally, have taken up a new sport. He has started the sport of basketball in the heart of the GAA tradition and has made a great success of it. He has, of course, caused a lot of problems in doing so, because parents have had the problem now of having to put up basketball rings and backboards and all that type of thing in their backyards. And you would see it is very noticeable, particularly for somebody like myself that has had an involvement in basketball, to drive by through West Limerick. Some years ago you wouldn't see anything in there of a basketball ring. Now you will see it in every second house almost. Again, credit to Michael Fahy. Again, I would like to just expand on this a little bit and give him extra credit insofar as that in the last year, what I have noticed about his contribution to the game and to the sport in general is that he hasn't taken the whole thing on his own shoulders. He has now spread it out. He has other people involved in different positions. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make, Michael, according to him, has not made that mistake. He has now a good backup in the area and is making great strides. Indeed, Mike Fahy is one of those people that loves sport of every kind, and I commend him tonight. He is a very worthy recipient. Well done, Mike.
The next award is for the sport of boxing. The recipient is Paddy Foley, and the reader of the citation is Captain Michael Egan. Captain Egan.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, it is my particular privilege tonight to introduce to you one of the true gentlemen of boxing in Limerick, and indeed of sport in Limerick. That is Paddy Foley here on my right hand side. For well over 30 years, his dedication is awesome to his particular sport, boxing. As we well know, 1992 was a historic year for amateur boxing in Ireland. The nation as a whole, sportsmen within the country, and above all, amateur boxers in the country, must take pride in the fact that we brought back 2 medals from the Olympics. 1 gold medal for the first time in 40 years. And it is particularly appropriate tonight that one of the men at the coalface, if you like, of the work that's done in boxing, in other words, training the youngsters night in, night out, the job that doesn't gain you huge or outstanding notoriety, but without whom the sport would not survive. And tonight we have one such man in Paddy Foley. He is a quiet, unassuming man, not given to seeking the limelight. But like it or not, tonight, Paddy, you get the limelight, and it is well deserved. Just to list down through some of the highlights of what Paddy has done. He began with St. John's Boxing Club over 20 years ago. And tonight we have Tony Delockery here, one of the youngsters at the time, and still young, I'm sure Tony will register there. It is one of the lads that he put through his hands. Tony went on to represent Ireland on 37 occasions in international boxing, winning most of his fights. He narrowly missed getting on the Olympic team through injury. So instead of waiting for the length of time we had to wait for a medal, it might have come sooner, but for fate. Tony is just one of many that he had put through his hands. He went on from St. John's Boxing Club to be one of the founder members of the South Hill Boxing Club. South Hill being one of the biggest housing estates in the city, and with a very large number of youngsters involved. The work he does there could not be paid for. For 4 hours a night, 5 nights a week, 52 weeks a year, Paddy opens up the club at 6 o'clock in the evening, stays there until they're all gone at 10 o'clock at night. Now, how many people will do that? In addition to the work he does for the young people of the city, he is coach, secretary of the club. He's the first international coach from the Limerick area, qualified last year, having to study under Hernandez Cruz, the present international coach that we have. He was born in Cuba, but he's now an Irishman, or so I'm allowed to told. At the start of the 300 year, St. Munchin's and South Hill Boxing Clubs invited a team from Estonia to take part in a match here in the city. An extremely successful affair, involving an awful lot of work. Paddy was secretary of the organisation that performed that feat. He has also brought teams to England and Wales. He is a tireless worker. He has no enemies. His nominations for tonight were widespread. They came from both his own club, those clubs who compete with him, those who, in inverted commas, are in opposition to him, all respect him. In addition to Limerick itself, he is the registrar of the Limerick County Boxing Board. He was recently elected as vice president of the Munster Council of the IABA, and we congratulate you on that, Paddy. Well done. The respect with which he's held among his peers here in the city cannot easily be described. To say that he would be a very popular winner would be to understate it, and all boxers in the city salute him. As late as last Saturday, Paddy was the manager of the Limerick team that travelled to Dublin to take on a boxing team from Dublin. He is noted to be a fountain of knowledge on all things to do with boxing. From the inside pocket of his jacket, I am reliably told, he can take out the address and telephone number of any and every boxing official, not alone in Ireland, but in England, Scotland and Wales as well. Tonight, Paddy, I'm limited in the amount of time that I have to speak. I could speak all night on Paddy. But I would like to say that the boxers of Limerick salute you. The sportsmen of Limerick salute you. And Cuspor, the national body, are here tonight to honour you. And I am sure that all in the hall here will join me when I say that you are a most deserving recipient of a Sports Service Award.
The next award recipient is Ken Glennon. The discipline of the sport for which he gets the award is for his work and effort in squash. And to read the citation, I call on Jim Upton. Jim.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, distinguished chairman, friends in sport. Casting one's mind back to the late 60s and early 70s, in some cases in our father's time, one would recollect that the word squash did not have a sporting connotation. In fact, I recall it as a drink to which you added water and it became orange squash. But all that changed in 1971 when the racket sport squash was sprung on the sporting populace of Limerick with the erection and opening of 2 courts at Limerick Lawn Tennis Club, the oldest tennis club in Ireland. Squash started in earnest, and the sound of balls being smashed, driven relentlessly against walls, resounding in the rear of Terry Wogan's family home. Squash had arrived, and just before membership closed in 1972 due to oversubscription, the curse of St. Munchin prevailed, and a Kilkenny man came to Limerick Lawn Tennis Club, Mr. Kenneth Glennon, squash gladiator supreme. The court of LLTC became the second home to this man, recently arrived from London, who had met the Prince of Squash, Jonah Barrington, and spoke of the Khan dynasty. He was experienced in this new sport and demonstrated his expertise on the court, organised teams and captained them, and always led from the front in this new racket sport. Right through the boom years of the early 80s and late 70s, when it was fashionable to have, as Michael Hickey, the former Davis Cup captain, had said, to have your racket on view in the back of the car. That was the fashionable thing to do. Squash was that popular. The game of squash was booming, and committees and teams traversed the country in competition, bringing glory to the Limerick club. At no stage was the name Glennon far from some level of committee work, coaching and guiding young and not so young and even aspiring young squash players then, like myself and many others. It has even been rumoured that Ken was so keen and earnest to assist others that he aspired to join in the ladies' successful teams. When the sizable interest in sport of squash began to wane, Ken was there on the committee, putting in the effort directly and indirectly. He had cajoled, assisted and driven many young people to scale the heights to national and international status. The names O'Donoghue, Ryan, Hessian, Hamill, and more recently and more importantly, a female, Anne-Marie Sheedy, has been added to the ranks of achievement. From under the wing of the old man of squash, Ken Glennon, young Anne-Marie Sheedy is now the Irish under-16 champion. In fact, yesterday, she won the Irish Open in Newton Ards. Well done, Ken. Well, reflecting back over 21 years of squash at Limerick Lawn, I recall fondly the achievements of Ken when he bucked the system, and up his own stubborn bat, or should it be racket, he decided to bring to Limerick world-class champions. First he brought the renowned British champion, Jonah Barrington, to Limerick Lawn Tennis Club for an exhibition match viewed by many sporting notables, and with the name Barrington, no stranger to Limerick City or County. In fact, Jonah, on seeing Glenstall Abbey, was reputed to have said that he regretted his forebears ever left the shores. He followed with a personal invitation to Australian Jeff Hunt, 4 times world squash champion, who delighted tennis and squash members at LLTC. Having stage managed 2 top-class acts, he followed and surpassed these previous achievements by bringing the Welsh rugby international John Peter Rees, namely JPR Williams, to give tennis, rugby and, incidentally, a squash exhibition and talks at the Limerick Club. Ken Glennon's love and dedication to the achievement through and for others in the sport has spanned 21 years in Limerick. And as you look at him now, it might have been 50 years abroad as well. I, for one, have learned an additional meaning for squash other than orange. And I'm glad the curse of St. Munchin has not been squashed. Well done, Ken.
can't escape you. I hope I escape you. Oh, no.
Thank you, sir. The next recipient is David Hayes, and David Hayes gets his award for his work in rugby, especially for Cahill Rugby Football Club. And I call on Reader Deed again to read the citation. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Minister, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, David Hayes is receiving his award for his unselfish dedication to Garryowen Rugby Football Club for the past 10 years. During this time, he has held numerous positions, including team secretary, selector to successful under-20 teams, and in the past 3 years, he's been an excellent team manager of the first 15, who achieved the highest club honour in Irish rugby in winning the All-Ireland First Division League Championship in 1992. He was also a first-team selector. David joined Garryowen immediately after school. He won an under-20 league and cup, and then won a Munster Junior Cup medal. On retiring from playing, he became manager of the under-20 team, which won the league and cup. From there, he became manager of the first team and has held this position since. David's greatest honour was to manage the team which won the All-Ireland League last year. This involved over 20 hours each week, from August to April, carrying out his duties in a most efficient manner. Some of these duties were arranging for pavilion and grounds to be opened each week, advising players of training arrangements on match day and organising coach and hotel accommodation where necessary, organising team gear and medical kit for match days, arranging for masseur and doctor to attend at matches and training. David's grandfather, Joe Reid, was a past president of the club, and his uncle, Tom Reid, was a British and Irish Lions player and captain of Garryowen in 1954. The players and officials of the club received appropriate honours after the historic win last year, but credit must also go to David Hayes, who played a major part with his unselfish work. Thank you.
The next recipient is John Landers, and John Landers gets his award for his work with the GAA. And to read the citation, I call it Mary Costello.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, guests, Sister Norbert, ladies and gentlemen. As a member of the judging panel, we had tremendous difficulty this year with the number of nominations we received for the Sports Service Awards, and we had many long nights trying to reduce the numbers to the final 11 that we have tonight. Obviously, we have to check out everybody that's nominated. We just can't take the face value of the information that we get. So I was checking out John Landers during the course of the judging, and I kept hearing about this guy who was terribly involved in the e-sport for the Nogue from about 1980 to 89 or thereabouts. And then from another source I heard about this great guy who was involved in the Limerick County Board in the Nogue. So I thought they were two separate people, until eventually, when I put two and two together, I discovered it was one and the same guy. John apparently has been involved in Portnonoke in the e-sports since 81 until 89, and then subsequently he moved on to become a secretary of the Limerick County Board in Oak, and he's currently in that position. He was a member of the Underage Review Committee, which looked into the present state in hurling and football in the county from under 18 to under 12. As secretary, he was responsible for the implementation of all county under-16 hurling and football leagues. Now, this involved 7 divisions of 8 teams in hurling and 6 divisions of 8 teams in football. There was almost 500 games to be arranged, to arrange referees for these games, and to John's credit, all of the games were completed before the deadline. He was also responsible for most of the under-14 and under-16 hurling and football and county rounds of long puck and skills. He also coordinated county under-16 and under-14 hurling teams and county under-16 football panel, which took part in special training in Thomond College, which is now the University of Limerick. John also helped coordinate the sale of programmes at Munster Championships games and final stages of the league. And all money collected there go back into financing underage hurling and football in the county. The programmes are very much appreciated by the young players, and they have their day of glory with their name in the programme. And a unique thing is that in the programme it covers maybe 3 or 4 matches, so that when people purchase a programme, it's not just finished on the day, but that they can use it again on 3, 4, or 5 occasions, and which is invaluable. John has put in years of Trojan work for Borden and Oak, both at the county and the East Board, and he is thoroughly deserving of this award.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. The next recipient is Hurley. He gets his award for his work in soccer. And to read the citation, I call on Frank Lynch. Frank.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I first met Jack O'Hurley almost 3 decades ago when we both played in a vocational schools tournament which Jack had been instrumental in organising. He was centre forward in our team and scored a decisive hat-trick in the final, all from a range of about 1 yard. After a short spell with the club that Jack subsequently founded in his hometown of Kilfinnan, I retired from soccer, but Jack most certainly did not. Mary has listed many of Jack's achievements in her booklet, so I will not dwell on those. Instead, I will focus on a few instances which illustrate his dedication to the game. We are all familiar with Jack's Army and how they have restored pride to the Irish soccer in recent years. Not everyone is as familiar with Jacko's Army, despite Frankie Boucher's excellent sketches in the local papers. Jacko's Army has toured extensively, marshalled by Jack O'Hurley, and have covered themselves in glory wherever they have been. There have been hitches as when an individual gave his passport to Jack for safekeeping some time before departure in what was to be his first foreign venture. As the party assembled at Dublin Airport en route from Malta, the individual concerned asked for the passport, only to learn that it was safely locked away in Jack's Limerick Corporation office. The story had a happy ending as the passport was retrieved and brought to Dublin in time for the next morning's flight, and the much wiser traveller got to the match after all. This mishap, however, was an exception to the rule. Jack's tours are invariably excellently organised and well run, with trips of various durations arranged to suit the requirements and pockets of all concerned. Quite apart from his trips to foreign fields, Jack's impact on local fields has been immense. He was one of the driving forces behind what was probably the first cooperative venture of its kind, when 4 clubs, Ashling, Albion, Caledonians and Kennedy Park, pooled their resources to buy land at Rathcourt and develop soccer pitches there. He was also deeply involved in the development of the ground in Anacotti used by the Ashling Anacotti Club, which has a membership approaching 500. One of his colleagues tells me that Jack's car would be more at home as a tractor. It was used for transporting playing gear, line marking equipment and numerous youngsters, as Jack frequently ferries teams to 3 different matches in an evening, sometimes making several trips to bring all members of a team from their assembly point to the appropriate match ground, and then repeating the process in reverse after the match. It is just as well that his wife Anne, who was a club's PRO, and their sons Alan and Derek, who are showing promise on the underage teams, are also heavily involved with the club. Otherwise, they would scarcely see him. Having heard so much in praise of Jack, I decided that this paragon must have some hidden flaw that the unsuspecting public should know about. By resorting to the method used by the tabloid press in pursuit of the British royal family, I discovered that this man of exceptional vision has a blind spot. Referees. Mind you, Jack's argument would be that they, not he, suffer from blindness. Jack, you may have to revise your opinion. Having spoken to a prominent local referee and through him to many others, I could find no one to say a word against you. Indeed, Jack, like me, they are all delighted to see you get this much-deserved Sports Service Award.
Thank you, Minister. The next award recipient is Raymond Hagan. And if you have been looking at your programs, Raymond really is much better looking than his picture there in the program. You may have thought that it came from the minister's files or from the superintendent's files, but it didn't. You can see it's much more handsome there than his picture. It doesn't do him justice. So the next recipient is Raymond O'Hagan for his work in schools in GAA. I could add swimming, but I won't preempt what Tom O'Donnell, the reader of the citation, has to say. I call on Tom to review the citation. Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister. I thought the proceedings were a little bit serious here this evening, just so on a light note, just in case you are concerned, Christmas is over despite the turkey and ham. It's my privilege to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Raymond O'Hagan. It's a special award in my view because it's an award that goes across the political divide, and certainly there's no better way to cross the political divide, in my view, than sport. A native of Belfast, Raymond was a teacher there for 19 years, and in true headmaster fashion, he's given me the address of the school that he was in Belfast, Lower Falls Road, Divisflat area. For 10 years, and secretary of the Belfast City School Sports for over 10 years, and was vice chairman on the county hurling board in Antrim, and was also a selector for the Antrim minor football team. Raymond came to Limerick in 1974, another correction to your programmes, and taught to St. Patrick's National School in 1976. I understand that in fact Jerry Tierney, who is here this evening, principal of St. Patrick's School, was very instrumental in Jerry's arrival in this city. He was then appointed principal on Mungret National School, a post that he still holds today. He holds the view that every child should be introduced to sport as early as possible, and it is a particular tribute to Raymond that where possible, all children leaving his school can swim. They go to Roxborough Pool and can be seen there quite a lot of time. Hard work in trying to get quite a number of children into a pool, out of a pool, and make sure that they're all dressed properly. As many of you know, there is always an inquisition when a child comes home from a swimming pool. He also organises PE courses, football and hurling courses for anybody who shows interest in sport. In addition, Raymond was a founder member of St. Paul's Swimming Club and also one of the most successful athletic Junine, which won an award some years ago. Raymond also has a passion for GAA activities and was a county selector for Limerick under-16 hurling team. From 1983 to 87, he was a selector and manager for the Limerick County senior football team. In addition to all this activity, he is deeply involved with Mungo GAA Club and has held positions as secretary and chairman there. Raymond O'Hagan has given tirelessly of his time in Antrim and in Limerick, both at club, school and county levels, in order to promote sport, regardless of the discipline, to the youth of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, Raymond O'Hagan.
Thank you, Minister. The next recipient is Mary Sheehan, and Mary Sheehan gets her award for her tremendous work in community games. And to read this citation, I call in Eddie McCarthy.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Minister, distinguished guests, after 8 men, it is my pleasure to introduce the lady of the night, Mary Sheehan. 10 years ago, Mary Sheehan saw that there was a need in Brewery for community activities. So she set about forming the community games in the area. She got a group of people together to help her out. And not alone did she just form community games, but she made the community come alive. I have been in Brewery on a number of occasions, and it's tremendous to see the spirit that is there within the community, all working away for the benefit of the children of the community. Mary believes in community games. She believes in the aspect of introducing boys and girls to sport. And the fact that the facility is not available sometimes in Brewery has never stopped her either. She'd pack up the car and bring the children to swimming pools, to handball alleys. It doesn't matter where Mary was there, where there are children. Some years ago, Mary also got involved in art in community games, and she has been the Limerick Community Games manager for art for a good number of years now in Mosney. This year, her efforts as manager were rewarded when they brought back from Mosney a gold medal and 2 silver medals to Brewery. While in Mosney, Mary not alone looks after the children while they're participating. She is with them all of the time they're there. You can see her with the children day and night. On many occasions I have been there myself and seen her playing away with the children. Mary loves children. Mary loves adults. In fact, Mary loves life in general. Mary has served as Assistant Secretary on the Limerick Community Games and is currently the Registrar for Limerick Community Games. In 1987, she was Area Secretary and won an award for her efficiency within community games. She won the Secretary of the Year. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mary Sheehan.
now we're at the 10th award recipient, and it's for a lifetime of service to sport. The award winner is Jack Sheehan, who has been mentioned here on a number of occasions already tonight, so we must have picked a good nominee. And I'd like to call on Donald Hapnett to read the citations. Donald, please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, Chairman, guests. It is indeed an honour for me to read this citation for, I suppose, a man who is a colossus in GAA circles in Limerick City. I really feel humbled but delighted at having the opportunity. To serve your club in the GAA, you can be a player and an administrator. To serve your association, you can be a referee and an administrator. Jack Sheehan has achieved all of these, and in many occasions, all of these they overlapped in the 50 years. As a player, he won county championships at both hurling and football. He played with Limerick. As an administrator, he served in all the major positions in his club, starting off in around 1949. He represents his club at the City Board. He's been a delegate since 1952, 40 years. He found time to become chairman of Board Oak, and he enhanced that board about 5 or 6 years ago. How would you describe Jack, the man, I suppose? There's a lot of statistics there about him, but the man, he is genial and unassuming. He is exceptionally good company to be with, who takes life very easy. And unassuming in that after his 50 years in the GAA, he has a myriad of stories. Many he will tell you, but most of them, like any unassuming man, will be against himself. And he tells this one about the time he was refereeing, and I bet you he's sorry he told me now. He was refereeing a match, and I'm afraid the protagonists weren't cooperating with him. And despite his manner, a genial manner, and his appeals to them, things got out of hand. And Jack had to make a hasty exit. And he had to jump a large fence. And we had talks here tonight about All-Ireland high jump record. Well, Jack maintains to this day that he holds the record. Unfortunately, it was never ratified. However, having said that, Jack was an excellent referee. He refereed many county championships. He was much in demand in other counties, and generally they don't call you from another county unless they have difficulties with their own guys. He gets great support from his family for Breed, and especially his daughters who answer the phone, and it's almost like an answering service. They have so many calls to put up with, but they are most courteous on the phone. And I was secretary of the City Board in Oak for the past 3 years. Anytime I left a message, it was passed on. Anytime I asked for the phone call, he got the message and he rang me back. And again, he tells another story that this guy came on the phone one evening. He was looking for Jack. He was in an awful hurry. He kept pressing the young lady. She said he's gone out. He kept pressing her. But do you know where he is? Well, she said, it's like this, sir. He's either at a funeral, a match, or a meeting. And I suppose she couldn't have got a better answer. Going back to Jack and the refereeing, Jack was on the Munster panel for referees. He refereed the Munster final in 1960 in minor football. He was called up to referee a Munster championship match the following season, but unfortunately it clashed with a match involving St. Patrick's. But being Mr. St. Patrick's, Jack put his commitment to St. Patrick's first. And of course, I suppose they then took it that he wouldn't be available for the Munster Championship matches after that. But he has always put St. Patrick's as his number one. And I think in the GAA we're always very lucky, and we say that the club is our basic unit and the club does so much for us. But clubs really don't do anything unless they have fellas like Jack Sheehan in them. He's known as Mr. St. Patrick's. He is a great ambassador for our association. He's not given to these type of awards, and he will generally say, well, what did I do yesterday or last year that I haven't been doing for 40 years? Well, Jack, this award is for not what you did yesterday or for a couple of years ago. This is for what you have done in your lifetime service to your club, St. Patrick's, and I wish you well with it.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. The final award of the evening is the Chairman's Special Award. Now, every year we look around and say, look for an area where we feel there's special merit, where there is special merit. 2 years ago, we honoured Sean Norton from Nina for his vision in creating the indoor complex in Nina. Tonight, we honour Paul O'Connor for a number of reasons. Paul falls into the category that he could have been quite successfully nominated for any number of disciplines and for his work in a number of areas. But he's been nominated especially for his work in the kind of phrase in the field of walking, if I may say so. He's receiving the Chairman's Special Award for his initiative in introducing the concept of walking through the Limerick Walking Association. Now, to some of you, that may seem a relatively new dimension to sport. But for us, it completes the circle, as it were. The concept of people walking is as much a concept of sport to us as indeed somebody promoting the idea of athletics or rugby or Gaelic or whatever. Because people reach a certain age doesn't mean that they can't participate. In actual fact, it's highly desirable that they should go out and activate themselves. And in Paul O'Connor, they have found a leader. Not that he has reached that certain age as yet. I don't think any yet. I'm sure of it. Now, Paul has been involved in all forms of sport from an early age. Played Gaelic with Cahill Dublin, soccer with Raheny United, and rugby with Clontarf RFC. He was a founder member of Raheny Shamrock's athletic clubs and was first captain in 1958. He went on to be a member of Dublin County Board and started coaching athletics in Limerick in '62. I remember well, when I came to Limerick myself in '73, Paul was already actively involved in promoting sport on a number of fronts. In 1969, he came to Limerick and joined Limerick AC. He was club secretary and treasurer in '71, and in '72 became national coach for sprints and hurdles until after the 1976 Montreal Olympics. In 1977, he was elected chairman of the Munster Council BLE, and in 1980 to National BLE Management Committee. In 1983, he was elected national treasurer and held that post for 6 years. He is currently chairman of the Limerick County Board BLE. Now, one of the innovations of his first term of office was to form a section for leisure walking, and he has spearheaded a drive to get more people out walking in groups for fitness, exercise and health. But the emphasis was also on enjoyment. It was so successful that within 10 months, over 1,000 had participated in the walks. They are held 3 times per week and range from distances of 2 miles to 6. A committee was formed and Paul was selected as chairman. It is our custom here to, when we receive nominees, to cross-check on the nominees to evaluate their worthiness. And I'm delighted to say that each of the recipients here tonight have passed the test with flying colours. And it was interesting to hear the comments, which I'll tell Paul afterwards, with regard to people who were singing his praises. And they quite literally were singing his praises. Those people who wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to go out and be part of, as it were, a group who were involved in the sport of walking. The Walking Association catered for 3 groups, leisure walkers, hill walkers and long-distance walkers. They also run a number of charity events in addition to trips away to places such as Killarney, Clonmel, Kinsale, the Burren, McGillicuddy, and many day trips. They also organise walks and associate with special events like Mother's Day, Easter, Christmas, St. Patrick's Day. To date, over 1,400 have walked with the club. 1,400. And membership has passed 500. People of all ages can take part, and many is the new friendships that have been formed as a result. Now, the driving force, and I literally mean the driving force, because I have seen him out in Class A on a number of occasions, Sunday I think it was. I've seen him out, and I'm not advertising any hostelry here, but I've seen him out at the Unicorn myself with numbers varying from 20 to 50. We would like to fight Piper of Hamlin. Now, the driving force behind this concept is Paul O'Connor, and for his initiative, for his foresight, for his vision, we deem him a very worthy recipient of the Chairman's Award, Paul O'Connor. Now, there is one final presentation. We referred earlier on to the fact that every year we have been involved in the Custard 10 in raising money for Milford Hospice. And in association with that, we award the Christy O'Brien Memorial Trophy to the person who raises the most money to aid Milford Hospice by way of getting sponsorship during the run. And once again, the winner on this occasion is Peter Hogan. And I call on Mrs. O'Brien to come up and make the presentation, please, to Sister Norbert, if she would, please. Peter Hogan.
Just behind me.
Sister Norbert.
Do it again next year, because I might be there in a few years' time.
Now, while Sister Norbert is going up with Mrs. O'Brien to present the Christy O'Brien Trophy, I'd like to remind you again that we have here a year's full membership to the Reed Hills Leisure and Fitness Club worth £335. We'll be distributing tickets, 2 for £1, and hopefully you will be generous in your response to it. Now, that is the end of the formal part of the evening, and very little remains for me to say, except to thank, first of all, the award winners, to thank them more sincerely. I thank you, the guests who have come here tonight to support them. Thank you to God, I found a few notes I had. I'd like to thank the CEO of Limerick City BEC, Mr. Cahill. His committee, for all the help and encouragement they have given us down through the years. I'd like to thank Pat McDonough, Director of the RTC, for his generosity in allowing Mary time to devote to the organisation. And I've been preempted on a number of occasions by various speakers. I thought I was going to be mentioning Mary here in great length, but anything I say would be inadequate. She is totally deserving of the honour bestowed on her by the Minister in her selection for the National Sports Council. I have no doubt that she will be a tremendous asset to it, and that she will keep them on their feet, to say, the way she has kept us on our feet all through the years. I congratulate her most sincerely, and it is an honour that has been totally deserved. And we feel honoured also. We in the sporting body feel honoured in her selection. I'd like to thank very briefly the Minister, Minister O'Dea, for his presence here tonight. I'd like to thank Mr. Raymond, Chairman of the National Sporting Council, as indeed I would like to thank Mayor Quinn and his gracious wife for their presence here also. This is not the first time indeed that they have been here. They've been regular visitors to us here all through the years. I'd like to thank the media, RLO, Cork Examiner, Limerick Reader, Weekly Observer, the Real Star. It is important, I feel, and I'm not going into the speech, but what I have to say will be very brief. It is important that the efforts put in by the people who make sport happen are recognised. They don't seek that recognition themselves. In actual fact, it's very difficult to winkle them out at times, but they are totally deserving of it, and we appreciate the fact that the media and the press are here tonight, so that they may, on this occasion, get the recognition that they deserve. Now, I mentioned already that, that the Chairman of the National Sports Council has said, and it was reiterated by our own Chairman, that money and finance is vital to any organisation. I'd like to place on record again our sincere thanks to the ACC Bank, to Donald Fitzgibbon, to Alan Fitzgerald, and to all the other members of the ACC who are here, and I would like them to convey our sincere thanks and best wishes for the next year, for the coming year, and for the award for the coming year to their directors. We thank them for their help, which is very much appreciated. I thank you for your patience, and I would ask you that for the next 5 or 10 minutes that you relax. The music will be coming on, and I can guarantee you it is very pleasant music and most enjoyable. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. I hope I haven't forgot anything. If you do, if I have, please forgive me. And don't forget, you might remember Milford Hospice. We look to your support later on in the evening. Thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Mr. If you like, we'll be making room here for the music, and it will take about 15 minutes, so please don't go away. It's a nice funny beginning. Thank you.
We're on the dance floor, so we have to